Are you a black belt on the mats, but a white belt around your house? No problem. Independence Interior Systems is here to save the day. They remodel bathrooms, kitchens, basements, floors. They fix and install electric, plumbing, and so much more. Don't tap out on DIY projects. Let Independence Interior Systems free up your time to let you focus on the black belt you're meant to be. Call 856-230-5987 for a free estimate. If you're in the South Jersey area, that's 856-230-5987.
What's with the clap?
It's so I can find the audio later because I have to connect that to the video.
So that's why they do it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Also just makes me feel cool.
It
Okay.
does.
All right, guys. So I'm here with Kevin Dantzler again.
Hey.
We just trained. Well, I did. He didn't.
Sound like a lazy potato.
We were talking the other day about some controversial topics. And one of them that came up is drilling versus rolling to learn new techniques, right?
Correct.
So tell me your stance on it.
So
I feel like I need to face you.
let me first define drilling. When I say drilling, I mean static drilling. I mean when we're just no resistance and we're just going for reps. Like we're just trying to find an idealized version of a technique.
Yeah.
Put your hand here, elbow here, this, that, the third, right?
Right, like someone's walking you through it.
I don't feel like anybody at any level needs to do that.
Okay, so I want to be like, why?
Yeah,
but literally, why? Like, so you basically feel like the static training does not help anybody learn?
So I don't think that, because I mean, there's a lot of people who do static training, obviously, and I mean,
Yeah.
I've done it forever, and I still do it, but
Yeah.
I think that there's ways we can streamline getting better, and
Better ways.
better ways that are just faster and more efficient. I mean, clearly, like there's some of the best people in the world who still do it.
Yeah.
But I think it's kind of antiquated, and I feel like there's better ways you can do it.
Okay.
Even
so,
with people like who know absolutely nothing.
right. So what, like, in your opinion, what's like the best, most efficient way to learn?
So I think first off, I feel like we're playing a resistance sport, right? We're playing a resistance sport, but then we teach without resistance.
Right. Right.
Like for me, it's just a little weird. That's like if I like told you to squat, but I just gave you like a stick, and then
Right.
instead of like getting like a bar and then putting a little bit of weight at a time, like adding a little to feel what's really, but still having weight on you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Instead of like giving you like a false sense of what actually is going on. So in the classes I teach, it is 100% live work 100% of the time.
Okay, so let me challenge that. So if I'm learning, let's use the example you use. So like learning to squat, like a lot of people will use like a PVC pipe, right? You see where I'm going with this?
Yes.
To like get the technique down, and then they slowly add the weight once the technique's mastered to then add resistance to build the muscle. So you're kind of saying skip the PVC step, go straight to the muscle building.
Yeah, and my comparison might not be a great one, but like my issue is the thing you said was the perfect technique. I don't believe there is a perfect technique.
That's fair. Yeah.
In anything, and especially in jiu-jitsu, there's so many different variables. You're a different person every single day. Your partner's a different person every single day. Every way you finish like a submission, a guard pass, it's also different. So to think there's an ideal technique is silly. And for me, like with the PVC pipe, you want to make it real. It doesn't have to be 100% like as far as the lifting the weights, but you still want to make it real. Like you're not going to actually squat with. I want it to be as representative of what we're actually doing as possible.
Right.
And you're not going to squat with the PVC pipe. So why the fuck do you have a PVC pipe?
Right.
You know what I mean?
So then you're saying through just like active rolling is like an easier or better way to learn the technique.
Yeah, but and I think you have to be very specific on how you do it. Like what I'm not gonna have people do is just go live the whole time, like in like just a regular round.
Yeah,
I'm gonna start you in a certain position and then give you certain task focus and teach you things that don't change in the position, and then you can kind of figure it out yourself. Like for example, an armbar is the easiest example. I feel like the armbar is the easiest example. Armbars come in a million different shapes and forms and all types of stuff, but there's like a couple things that never change in an armbar, which is shoulder attachment, which is trying to keep your partner's head to the floor, and then separating hands. So if I take someone who's never done an armbar ever in their life, maybe they haven't even seen it,
Right.
if I put them in that alignment and say, hey, use your legs to keep your partner's head down, separate their hands, stay as close to the shoulder as possible, they'll start doing arm bars in a couple minutes.
Right.
Versus me teaching them, like, okay, the elbow has to be here at this angle, and then it has to do this, and then they go live. Like, I think it's even more detrimental for beginners because they have no experience with it at all. So the things that you're teaching them is not relevant at all. It's not relevant. Like, you're like, all right, keep the leg over the head. For someone who's started, I don't even know why I'm keeping the leg over the head.
Right.
Versus when you're in the armbar, you're in that position and you understand, keep their head down. Oh, that's what my leg's doing. It has to keep my partner's head down.
So it's more like teaching like the main functions and then just going with that, which
Exactly.
I do agree with you there. Like, I think, especially me being someone only a couple years in, if someone can explain to me like why I'm doing it, even if I can't remember every little detail, I can remember keeping my, whatever it is, keeping my head over my grip or keeping my chest close or whatever it is, hip pressure. If I can remember the function, then I can probably execute the move, right?
Yeah.
So that makes sense. Now, what about like if it's something difficult? What if you're teaching leg locks? I never have done a leg lock before. Would you teach it the same way? You would put me in a position, say, go and give me a goal or two?
Yeah, so I would argue that there's a leg lock is not different than an armbar in any shape or form. I don't think it's any more difficult. I think it just looks different because it's all just attaching to the base joint, trying to stop your partner from moving, and then in an armbar separating in the hands, and in a leg lock position either toe attachment or or attaching to the ankle. It's all the same. Like, it's really all the same. I would do the same thing. I'd put somebody in the bottom position or top position, whatever. I'd explain to them what an entanglement is. So you have your feet attached at your partner's hip. You want to stay as close as possible, and if, let's say, we're doing heel hooking, I want to catch my partner's toes and I want to try to get both legs. So I would start them day one. I do this all the time. Day one, all right, this is what entanglement looks like. I want you to try to stay close, keep their hips to the floor, keep your belly button pointed at their knee, and now catch your toes with your armpit, and that's it. Like, and now if we teach it in like a step by step thing, people are gonna get so confused. People get so confused when you teach. All right. So you're gonna take this leg. It has to be at this angle. You have to keep your hips super close. You have to it's like a whole. Your hips have to be at a 96.275 angle. It's like people can't even. People are completely checked out at that point.
But with something like a heel hook, which could be dangerous, how do you teach that with resistance without it becoming dangerous?
I feel like anything can become dangerous.
That's fair. But
Yeah.
I use heel hook as an example because I feel like when I'm learning, like even tonight we did that, like learning a heel hook, I feel like I'm like so much more careful about it than some other movements because I feel like the degree of movement can be such a hair.
Yeah.
So if you're taking like a white belt, someone that's very new, and you're explaining you want them to use some type of pressure because that's how we train jiu-jitsu, you don't worry about them going too far because it's not drilling. You're technically going live.
Yeah, because you kind of create that culture in the room. No matter what submission we're doing, we're not jerking, we're not pulling too fast. No matter what, slow, steady pressure until your partner taps.
Right.
I truly don't believe that like an armbar, a kimura, a choke, all this stuff is the same as long as you have the correct, culture in the room.
Right.
That we're not trying to blow each other's shits out. Pause. that we're not trying to turd each other.
Oh.
So I don't think that I truly don't believe it's different than anything else.
Right.
And
So can you walk me through like how you would teach a class? Like how do you kind of go about it?
Yeah, so I like to start. Let's do heel hooking since we were just talking about it. Let's say I want to teach people how to heel hook. So I'll say, okay, I like to start in the end in mind. So I want to start, especially with people who are newer, I want to start with like a small variability as possible. So we're going to start in the entanglement.
Yeah.
And I'll say, okay, for the basics of this entanglement is I need to stay close to my partner's hips. I need to keep leg attachment to their hip, and I want to catch the toes, get my belly button pointed at their knee. So what I'll first do is I'll just start in the control piece. So I'll say you want to keep this entanglement as long as you can. Your partner wins if they either escape the position, or for entanglements specifically, leg entanglements, if you can stand and that's it, you win.
Right.
Right? Because if I can keep you on the floor, it's going to be much easier to control you and much easier for me to finish your submission on you. So I'll start like that, and then I'll flip-flop every time somebody wins, and then I'll
Right.
back out a step.
Right.
It's like, okay, to get to entanglements, I need to have inside position. So I need to
Right.
have inside control relative to your knees. So I need to either go in between your knees, or one leg goes in between, one leg goes behind. And I'll explain that. And I'll kind of like
Right.
show what that looks like. Excuse me. And then we'll go from there. Flip-flop every time somebody wins. If partner on top, just don't get entangled.
Right.
Then we'll back out more of a step. I won't start with any inside position. Now we have to get to inside position so then I can attach to the hip, and then I can get them down to the floor, and then we can start working the finishing process.
Gotcha.
Does that
So
make sense?
That makes sense. So now if you are walking around and you see people doing it wrong, are you fixing them? Are you physically going up and telling them what to change? Or how are you going about helping somebody who's doing the movement incorrectly?
I would argue that there is no incorrect way to do a movement.
Okay.
I would argue there's an effective way and there's an ineffective way. If they're doing something that doesn't deal with the task, then I'll correct that. Like if they're trying to do entanglements but they have no inside position, and inside position is you have to have that for entanglements, then I'll say, hey, do you remember what the task is? I don't want to be the coach who – I don't want to be the teacher who is like, all right, kid, you're doing this math problem. You get this wrong. Oh, it's the answer's 4.
Right.
The answer's
right.
5.
Yeah.
I'll give you maybe look at this problem this different way.
Right.
Because I don't want people to just remember and just try to copy me. I want people to be effective learners, effective jiu-jitsu athletes. So again, I don't want to be the math teacher who's like the person who struggles with it a couple of times. Like, yeah, the answer's 5.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that.
Right.
know?
You want to let them like have some problem solving.
Yeah, because then in competition, I feel like that really, really helps because they experience something novel. As long as they know, hey, for this person to entangle me, they have to get inside position. Even if I've never seen, let's say, a false reap or K-guard, whatever, even if I haven't seen that, if I just know I can't let my partner get in between my knees or one in between, one behind, they can't entangle me. And I feel like that extremely cuts the learning curve in like half.
Right.
Instead of being like, okay, every time someone gets the false reap, you need to grab this, you need to do this, you need to do this. This is one, it's going to take forever.
Right.
And two, it's just going to take so much longer. Versus if I say, hey, don't let someone get in between your knees, they can't entangle you.
Right.
That's like, oh, wow, anybody can do that.
Right.
So the second someone just touches my knees, I just take whatever they're trying to put in between my knees, I just take that out.
Now what about like finishing technique? Like they're doing everything right. I know you don't like that term.
No,
but
yeah.
They're doing it the way you suggested, and they're just still not getting that heel hook or that straight ankle, whatever it is. How do you go about those small little details of finishing the technique?
So I would, again, I'm going back to what I would say before. I would look at things that don't change in any heel hooking positions because, like for example, in heel hooking, I'm sure you're trained, you're really good. In heel hooking, stop laughing.
That seems sincere.
Stop that. Seriously, it was. Oh my goodness.
Me and Jenna locked eyes and started laughing.
So in heel hooking, stop laughing. Okay, we're serious today. Okay.
You're good. Anyway. What the fuck? Yeah, they're paying for this content.
Yes, for this just a roast of Alysa. But shit, what were we talking?
Family reunion. We introduced
I have no idea what we're talking about. Just Brenda Wallen album.
It's the wrong viewers for that content.
Nick Cannon is definitely a driller. Pause again.
Literally.
Like 800 kids. But
Anyway, back to me.
Yeah, God, this was fun. No, yeah, back to how you suck.
It's gonna be the clip, and then it's gonna be like for $3.99 a month.
You can see Alysa get roasted.
Peter Kev roast me monthly.
It's so amazing. This is so much fun already.
I don't even remember what you were saying.
Oh, we were talking about heel
finishing.
hooking. Yeah, finishing. So if you if you can't finish correctly, I'm just kidding.
Then you come to the right place. Finishing techniques with Kevin Dantzler.
Hey, yo, chill. I'm done leaving. Hey, yo. But yeah, so so I would go back to the things that don't change in the position because if they're not, but here's my argument with that. Like, how many times? Yeah, that's what we were talking about. Heel hooking. So whenever they talk about heel hooking, and you see Gordon Ryan, and you see Jason Rao or whoever.
Mm-hmm.
They say, hey, you need your wrists perfectly underneath the heel.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have this certain angle. How many times have you seen them get that perfect heel hook bite, that angle, and nothing happens to your partner?
Right.
Happens quite a bit. And sometimes I've seen people take their, they catch the heel, it's all in the bend of the arm, and if somebody looked at that, they say it's disgusting, and the person's shin blows up because they finished it. I think if you can find the things that don't change in every position, and you just adjust that accordingly, and sometimes just have to change your body positioning a little bit, I think that's what makes the difference. I don't think there's an idealized way to finish, but there's things that don't change, and usually those are the things that are missing.
So let me ask you this. This is going to be a hard question.
Girl.
Then why do coaches teach the way they teach, in your opinion?
Because it's easier, and because it's just an old school way that people have done it, and it's just tradition.
Just
Just how old heads do it.
How did you kind of determine that it wasn't the best way, just through trial and error, or is it the way you learn?
Look, there's a couple things. So one, this guy from Standard Jiu-Jitsu, Greg Souders, he came out and he was like, and the way he explained it was always like how I've always thought of it as when I first started training, because I've noticed I would learn things, and I would sometimes get it to work, but there was a bunch of shit in the middle. There's a bunch of different things that happened, and I would make a certain adjustment off of my own, not that was told to me, and I was like, it just feels like I feel like we can just do this in a little different of a way. But
and how many times do we say, or do I say, they teach you something and then it's never works out when you're live the way you were taught it, right?
That's just everybody.
And then you're stuck with what? The way that you were taught, detail by detail. Whereas to your point, I think if you were taught the function, even if you're not getting it down in the exact way you were taught, you can at least stick to the basic functions of the movement, right?
Exactly, 100%. And then basics is a whole nother thing. We'll talk about that some other time. Yeah. But it's just, I don't know. I just think function versus aesthetic. It's I want to understand the function. I don't care if it looks pretty, especially when someone's first starting. The shit's gonna look a mess no matter what.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
and it is a lot. I can imagine. I can also think back because it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah,
because I'm new.
Because you stink.
Because I suck. Listen, Les makes me look really good when I roll.
Okay.
If you're listening, Les is a gigantic man that trains with us, and he just floats over my body. It makes me feel like I'm good at jiu-jitsu. But I remember, it is intimidating. You come, I was thinking today we had a guy on the mats for the first time, and Daishi's teaching heel hooks, and I'm thinking I know this guy probably is overwhelmed, because I remember that feeling. It's your first day, and if you happen to come on the day where they're doing something intricate like that, you're just where do I even start? I don't even know how my body moves, let alone remembering all 12 steps that the coach just went over. Now, let me ask you this. So there's different ways of coaching. What you're describing, I think, is somebody shows you the move step by step, and then you break out into groups, and then you kind of try to emulate what you just saw, right?
Correct.
Then, similarly, there's coaches who teach the move step by step, and when you break out, they walk you through it step by step. Better or even worse?
I mean, it's kind of the same. I mean, I think,
but I would argue that it could be a disadvantage, even though I prefer it, because I obviously feel like I'm getting it down because someone's walking me through it. Less critical thinking.
Yes.
Because at least you have to try to figure it out after it's shown to you. But if someone's literally saying, all right, guys, left arm here, right arm here, you can almost zone out.
And just listen to what they're saying. You don't even have to pay. Yeah, I agree.
And
I agree.
Don't get me wrong, I prefer that because it does help me. Because sometimes, they clap and I'm I don't remember anything.
Right.
But I could see now that we're talking, I'm maybe it's a disadvantage because I'm so heavily relying on someone to walk me through it.
Yes.
I'm not really thinking through the functionality of the movement.
And that's my biggest problem with that. I want people to be critical thinkers and function thinkers, and not just look for the aesthetic of it.
Right.
And I think that's just the problem when you're just trying to go so step by step with everything.
Right.
I just feel you completely miss the what's the phrase? It's you miss the forest because the trees are in the way, some shit like that.
That feels maybe right.
I feel like that's it. I feel like I had a good point and I just ruined it. But it's just I feel like if you need to teach the function. When I teach if you teach math to somebody, I keep going back to that.
Yeah.
But if you
Did
teach
you have a bad experience?
But yes. He's getting beat by my
Do you want
teachers.
to talk about it?
Yes, he's getting beat by my teachers.
Honestly, I had a bad experience. It's another story. Like when you use it as an example, I was like, you're right.
Yes, it's just
And it's terrible when they yell at you the answer 4.
It's like, it's 4, you dumb. It's like,
I'm like having a trauma response.
I hate math. No, but seriously though, like it's like you don't want to just spoon feed people answers. And what
Yeah.
I would much rather teach somebody, like when I learn algebra, I don't teach 2x equals 6. I don't teach them every time x equals 3. I teach them what an exponent. I teach them what a variable is. I teach them what a multiplication is, division. I teach them what all those things mean. So then whatever equation they get, if you remember PEMDAS or whatever, you can do it.
I knew you were gonna get to that. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like that's more efficient, and like you were talking about, I want to create critical thinkers, not just copiers, because we're not all the same. We're not all the same. I'm not the same today as I was yesterday. So to think that
You
I
were
can
way worse yesterday.
that's true. I was about to
Yeah.
say cat, but that's true as fuck. It's true as fuck.
Anything else? Anything else you want to throw out there?
At the family reunion, who we introducing,
Who we
yeah.
Hi, my name's Alysa, and I'm with my cousin Kev.
Okay.
He's talking about math. Ah, fuck. And that's all that he said at the family reunion. Who we introduced. It's your turn.
Oh,
Who we introduced.
Drilling is lame. That's on God. Ask my homie Bob.
That's my dad's name.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
We suck at that. Dice, you want to get in on this?
Spit some bars, Daishi. Sure, me neither.
I think we're good.